Don't assume you know, because that gets you into trouble. We all know what assuming does, all right? But don't assume you know everything about that business. In fact, you don't know just from looking. You gotta go in. Don't judge that book by the proverbial cover. Go in and start asking some questions. A gentleman one time thought he knew everything about his wife. It was their 25th wedding anniversary. He said, honey, I know everything about you. 25 years of marriage, I'm going to buy you that Rolex you always wanted. She goes, I don't want a Rolex. He was shocked. He goes, I know, you always wanted a mink coat. I'm going to buy you a mink coat for our 25th wedding anniversary. What do you say? She goes, I don't want a mink coat. Now he's really in trouble. He says, I know you always wanted that cottage on the lake, so for 25 years of marriage, I'm going to go to the bank, take out a loan, pull out all the stops and buy that cottage that you always wanted so you could relax on the weekends. And she goes, I don't want a stinking cottage. He's shocked. He goes, you're kidding. 25 years of marriage. What do you want? She says, I want a divorce. He said, gee, I wasn't planning on spending that much. That's funnier to some than others. Depends on where you're going or coming from. But the point is, don't assume. Even after many years, people assume and they really don't know. Ask the questions. Now, assuming you go in now and you're not going to assume, what questions do you ask? That's a good question. Let me give you a couple things you might want to focus in on when you make that initial suspect call to determine if they truly are a prospect. All right? Number one, do they have interest? Are they interested in growing? Are they interested in their business? Is there a passion about what they do, or are they disinterested? Are they bored? Does it look like they've checked out? All right? They have to have an interest in getting better, their business getting better, themselves getting better. Do they have the time? Is the timing right? Do they have money? They have to have, even with all the interest and desire, they've got to have the money to make it happen. Ask the question. What do you spend a year in advertising? By the way, not what is your radio budget, but what do you spend a year in advertising? You got to ask the question. Are they a successful business? Eyeball them, look it around. Does it look like they're successful? Does it appear like they're doing things that lead them to be even more successful? Only do business with people that are successful. The reason being, if they're unsuccessful or if they're not doing that well, a good advertising plan will just drive them out of business that much sooner. I used to have a plan called the Springboard the Bankruptcy Plan. And that was a plan that would get a lot of people in on an event, and a lot of people would be exposed immediately to that business. People saw how bad it was, they told a lot of other people, and they went out of business that much sooner. Good advertising just puts a bad business out of business that much quicker. By the way, good advertising cannot help a bad business either. So interest, time, money, are they successful? Can you get to the decision maker? If you can't get to the decision maker, that presents a huge problem. You have to have access. And lastly, do you have personal belief? Do you truly believe in your heart of hearts that you can help that business grow? And if you can, nothing's going to stop you. If you don't believe, everything's going to get in the way. You've got to have the personal belief that you really truly can help that business grow. All right? Now, assuming that you have that focus, that you have these questions answered, and you think the suspect is truly a prospect, because what you don't want to do is be working this account over and over for weeks and weeks and months, and then they finally say, okay, you win, let's try it, and then they only have a lousy $150. That happened to me with a flower shop once. 6 months, I was going to prove to her how good I was. In 6 months, 17 sales calls. She says, you know what, you're a nice young man, you got a perm, a $43 double knit suit. Here's my entire budget, $150. Duh. I wasted my 6 months of my life and 17 calls calling on a suspect that never was a prospect. And that's why you have to know these questions and have to answer them very quickly to determine, is this worthy of your time? Is this truly a prospect that will be worth your time when they finally agree to do something with you? Make sure you qualified them well. All right? Remember, beginning's half done. Just taking the first step is the halfway to finishing anything. And when it comes to prospecting, get out of your seat and start making the calls. Where do you look for suspects, by the way? Well, if we made a list, there'd be over 30 or 40 areas. I'd pick 1 or 2 and 3 and focus on those areas every week. Maybe it's the Yellow Pages. Maybe it's looking at billboards. Maybe it's the newspaper. Whatever it is, focus on 2 or 3 and every week explore that space or those spaces every week, dependably, religiously, consistently look in those areas for potential suspects. A famed Italian philosopher, Vince Lombardi, once said, success is not never failing, but in rising every time you fall. Success is not in never failing, but rising every time you fall. You're going to fall a lot when it comes to suspecting or prospecting. In fact, if you're like me, I found it one of the most or least parts of the job that I really enjoyed. It was one of those things I had to do. But when I got into it, I truly did enjoy it. But no one likes a constant amount of rejection. No one likes to hear the word no, no. So it's learning to get back up. It's learning that it's just a game, that you got to get 7 strikeouts to get 3 hits. And you can look at it as another no, or, hey, 1 down, 5 to go. Thank you very much. By the way, 2 down, 4 to go. Thank you. It's that kind of attitude, depending on if you look at it as a game or if it's drudgery. Make it a game. Have some fun and know you need to have the strikeouts to get the hits. And always remember this, when you get those no's and you get that rejection, think of this. Think of this $100 bill, by the way. Now, would you like the $100 bill if I could prove this is a real $100 bill? Which it is. If I crumple this up, does it make you want it any less? If I took it and put it on the ground and stomped it into the ground and then brought it up, would you want it any less, or would you still want this crumply now, dirty $100 bill? Of course you would. It's still worth $100. And as much as people step on you and crumple you up and you get all this no and rejection, just remember that you're still a very valuable individual. And no matter how much rejection you take, it's not really what you do. It's not, remember, it doesn't matter what people say to you or even what you say. What really matters is who you are. And if you care about people and care about helping people, then no one can stop you. Because when you've got something you know that can help, you're invincible.